All right. So currently, this is the code for the coding assignment for week 3. Um, so in green, I went ahead and just numbered it from 1 to 13, A and B being between if they had multiple um, parts attached to the current number I was working on. So for one, create an array for called ages. Um, here, I made a variable for ages and what it equaled. Ages being here equal the equaled ages here, and then they wanted you to subtract the value from the first element in the array. So I went ahead and put a console.log ages. Um, since values start with 0, ages length was -1, but from ages from the first element being 0. Um, so it's subtracted from. So if you look here, so from the first element, it subtracted and got my answer here. And for the next one, it was repeated. So um, the push was 37, subtracted from that, which ultimately equal to 34. Um, also, in the loop and array to calculate the average age, then print to console. Variable being let of total. Um, the variable had to be less than ages to length, um, which ultimately I found the average for the first problem up here, which average came to 2.9.6, and the number just keeps running. Um, Same thing again, but this one was for um, the second question was with some names, but variable B being let names equal Sam, Tommy, Tim, Sally, Buck, and Bob, which will pop up in the console when you bring up the HTML. Again, Sam, Tommy, Tim, or Sam, Tommy, Tim, Sally, Buck, and Bob. Um, Within that one, I had to loop an array and calculate the average of names by letters per name. Um, oh, hold on. What was the average coming up to 3.8 for that? For this one, it was a little tricky because it wanted me to space, as you can see here, using the quotes. Um, uh, let's concatenate the names and spacing. As you can see here, spacing it out will actually space out the names when you actually put it in the log, causing it's all the same names from before, but Sam, Tommy, Tim, Sally, Buck, and Bob are all spaced out from each other. They're not. It's not all smashed together because if that space wasn't there, it would actually combine all the words together into one giant word instead of them being separate. Knowing that these are individual names. Um, so for this one, I kind of did my own thing. Um, this is how do you access the last element of an array. I used video games for my example, so these were just genres and then um, there's an explanation to this one, but if you console.log video games and then the element that you're using, obviously there's six, but the element starts with zero. Um, the fifth element in this one would be, you go over here, would be simulation games. So when you go to HTML, simulation will pop up. Same thing if you change it. For the next question, it was we wanted to know what how do you access the first element in your array. This one I use video game characters. Obviously the first element is zero, so when you go to the back to the console, Mario would pop up. This one wanted to know the name links. Um, one result was zero for that one. Um, uh, for no, it's the name links, my bad. And then for the next one, it said create a function with two parameters. Uh, this one I had to make a function which is repeat the word n times word dash n. Um, so basically, console.log, putting hello in quotations next to two, would repeat the word in console being hello, hello, hello. This one I just use my name, same thing, function, full name, first and last name. Always have to have that space between, because if the space isn't here and you close it together, the first name and the last name will actually squeeze together, and it wouldn't space the name. Wouldn't space the name. So when you went console.log, you need a space between the quotations. So when it pops up in console, it'd be Anthony Allen. It wouldn't just be my name combined together. For the next one, so write a function that takes an array of numbers and returns it to true. So for mine, I put total number greater than the array. Then there's array with length. And then wants to find the sum. So if sum is equal to 100, and I return it as true, I'll have the console.log come back as validation passed. Else it'd be validation failed and will return as false. As you can see here, validation passed and it was true. This one I had to write an average. I had to do the same thing from before with the average. I had to average my array from above. Or not above, but based on numbers I chose. I chose six random numbers, primarily my favorite numbers, but the average out of those would be 30.333, continued, so forth, infinite. And then for next one, write a function that takes two arrays of numbers and returns it as true. I just use the function compare the average, current array one, current array two, variable total of one, a total of two, and that. But and this one, it was like if average one is greater than average two, then return it as true. Else it will return as false. In this case, if you look down here, the compare average. So I took the average of my favorite numbers and then I put an average of. So the first bracket would be the total of one. The second bracket would be the total of two. It's going to compare the totals out of that, out of the code, and obviously the numbers combined in the first bracket are greater than the numbers in the second bracket. So if you go back, it's going to say true in the console log. So it's true that total of one is greater than the total of two in this array. So in this function, it had write a function called "will buy a drink" and a boolean is it hot outside and money in the pocket. So it needed to be hot outside had to be true and money in pocket had to be greater than $10.50. So in this case, if it's true and is equal to or greater than $10.50, then the console log would pop up with yes, I think I'll have a drink today. Else it would pop up I am broke and it's hot I'm not having a drink. So, and then the console.log will buy a drink, true dash $10.50. So if we come back here, it is true, and I also get my log as I am broken, and it is. Oh no, it's false because it's not greater than $10.50. So I am broke. It is hot, and I'm not having a drink. Um, and then for my last one, it's a create a function of my own. I write it. Um, right, I had to write what it was and why I created it. So I currently been playing Monster Hunter, the new Monster Hunter. So I made a function for that. So Monster Hunter is a great game. Um, I wrote if X is equal to true, then it returned as one of my favorites and by far a classic video game. Else it will return that the game is not just that, or that game is just not for me, honestly. So, and then console.log, Monster Hunter is a great game. So true. So it's going to come back as one of my favorites and by far a classic video game, as you can see in the HTML console log when you pop it up here. All right. That is my coding project, and thank you for taking time to check it out.